And I heard this really nice quote once. It's like, most people die at 18, but then they're buried at 85. So at 18, we're ready to take on the world. We're ready to make the life that we want. And then because we don't have the tools to make that happen, or the guts to make that happen, we don't go after it. So artists become accountants, songs don't get written, and people live this life that's not true to them. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Joel.
Woo! I said hello, everybody. Boo. Okay. Okay, I haven't actually looked at this introduction, so today is going to be not the same as the goal setting seminar for New Year's. This is like more how to get shit done. So goal setting is more thinking big, getting the ideas, but this is how to bring those ideas into reality and keep yourself accountable and keep yourself motivated so you can actually do the things that you really want to do, because a lot of people struggle with that. So, is this the lady that gave us coffee? Coffee pot? Nope. Well, sorry, Coffee Pot's not actually our sponsor. We haven't changed our sponsors. On to the next slide. Who we are? We're a bunch of guys and a girl, but a bunch of guys who are obsessed with, I don't know, wanting more from life. I'm not going to go into my life story, but I've transformed from a guy who I was like too shy to talk to a checkout chick at the shop, and probably still am, but pretend I'm not. Yeah, it's been a long journey, but in that process and in process of coaching a lot of people, we've realized that there are tools and strategies to help life be easier and make us more equipped for life. So we're basically on a massive journey of trying to learn heaps, share heaps, and make the world a better place, okay? How we're going to deliver this, 3 of us are going to speak, and we're going to try and blow your brains. Afterwards, we're going to give you some resources, so all of this really cool information, you can actionably implement this in your own time, and I don't know, these are just generic slides that we use every time. Okay, so motivation. Motivation is an intangible thing. Can somebody tell me, can I get a few definitions of what people think motivation is? You can yell something out, you can put a hand up, doesn't matter if it sounds stupid. It's what drives you, cool. Anyone else got anything to add to that? What does motivation mean to you, Mary?
Yeah, I think what drives you is
cool.
why you're doing something, why you want to do something.
Awesome. Exactly, cool. Very good answers. I was hoping for some worse answers so I can blow your brains. You guys already got it. Okay, motivation. Motivation is a weird thing, and I've thought about this a lot. Like, what separates, like, you know, two people, they may have a similar beginning, but how does one person get the capacity to create a massive, amazing life and do everything they want, whereas another person struggles? Like, what is that separating factor? And obviously there's a lot of things, but a big one is being able to sustain high levels of motivation. And I don't like to necessarily think high levels of willpower, because willpower for me implies always having to try everything and everything's really, really hard. Whereas motivation, as Kathleen says, is excitement. Like, you know, when you watch a really inspiring video and you're like, oh, hell yeah, and then you go chop some vegetables up and eat them or something because you're so inspired to be healthy. That excitement, that willingness to do something because it excites you, that's what I feel as though motivation is. So in understanding and coaching people, I realized you can't just tell people what to do. You need them to internally feel that feeling, because once they have that feeling, that's what's going to drive all of their behaviors. So I want you guys to think, like, imagine if you did have unlimited motivation. What would you do? Because a lot of the things I hear from a lot of people is they want to do this, but then I hear, I'm too lazy, that's too hard, I can't do it. And when I hear all of these things, I think lazy is a cop-out, to be honest. I never think anyone's lazy. I think they haven't learned to use the power of motivation. They haven't learned to excite themselves. They haven't learned to find out why that thing really matters to them. But if you did figure out how to get unlimited motivation, imagine what you could actually create. Like all those things on your to-do list that you're procrastinating, that probably you're very capable of doing them, you'd be destroying them. So that's what I want to share with you guys. I want to give you just my take, but a well-educated take on what motivation is and how we can extract that. So, if we want results, it comes from action. And basically, what I've looked through the definitions of motivation, basically if you have sufficient motivation, that's willingness or excitedness to do something, if that exceeds the perceived effort or how challenging you think a behavior will be, you'll do the thing. So if I'm like, I want to step over here, it's not very hard. Hey, I had the motivation to do that. But for me to climb up there is probably hard and I don't really have a reason, so I'm not going to climb up there. So when the motivation exceeds the perceived effort, you're going to have action. You're going to have movement. And the reason I say perceived effort, because sometimes the idea of something in our mind is far more challenging than the thing itself. Like we might be like, oh man, this thing's way too hard, I'm never gonna do that. And then you've procrastinated, let's say it's an assignment for school or uni, you procrastinated it for like a month, then when you sit down to do it, you do it in like 2 hours, you're like, oh. But the idea of the thing was what was more intimidating. So it's the perceived effort required, and that's a big thing to note for psychology. So this is a motivation wave, and this just shows us that when we have high motivation, we're able to do the things that are hard to do. If we have enough motivation, we're in the yellow side, anything above that line, we're able to do it, and anything below that line, we can't do it. So when we have low motivation, we can only do easy to do things. When we have high motivation, we can do hard to do things. So my goal of today is to help you constantly have higher motivation so you can do things that are perceivably harder so you can create the life that you want. Because if you're stuck only doing easy things, you're probably going to go through the same day-to-day pattern and nothing's really going to change. So this is what most people's motivation looks like. This is just a theoretical model. It's not real. I haven't mapped out my daily motivation and my monthly motivation, but it goes up and down in kind of a sporadic pattern. So we have some days, does this laser pointer do something? Hey, oh, you can't see it. Okay. Okay, so see those high points? Sometimes, like, look, you might have a great day, you might have a great conversation with someone, you might have watched a video on the internet, you may have come to this seminar and you get this little spike. And then afterwards, you'll probably do some really hard behaviors. But then after that blow, it'll probably return to normal. And then you go back to your day-to-day life. Sometimes you're going to have really hard days and you're going to fall into those troughs. And they're the days you're not going to be able to get much done at all. Probably the days we beat ourselves up as well. Why am I so useless? Why am I so lazy? But what I want to show you guys is, for the most part, for most people, their motivation isn't really something that they create. It's created as a result of how they interact with the world. So it might be what kind of customers they deal with work that day. It might be what they learned at uni that day. It's not really something that they've chosen to create. They're reacting to their world. And if you're in a state of reacting to your world, you're not in control of how you feel. You're being controlled by what you're exposed to. So if we think about this and think about, if we're trying to create high motivation, can't we expose ourselves to the right things that are going to create those feelings that can create the actions that we want? And let's think about someone like Josh Hardy. How the hell does he always go so hard at everything? He's run out of willpower a long time ago if he was purely running off willpower. It's the fact that he has found some way to push this curve higher, to have a reason to want to get up every day and give it his all because it means something to him. So if we can make this mean something to you guys, all of a sudden you're going to have a far consistently higher curve with more peaks, which means you can do more, you can create a better life. How would that sound, everybody? Yeah. Woo! Not very motivated yet. Okay. So what motivates us? It's not actually religious forces. Sorry if anyone's religious here, Sarah. This represents pain and pleasure. It doesn't represent it that well, but I'm just going to keep going with it. So at the deepest level, whether we like to think we're the most rational beings on the planet or not, we do things because A, they make us feel good. Yeah, coffee. Yeah. B, because we're trying to avoid some perceived pain. At the deepest level, that's where all of our decisions come from. If you may have some thoughts that are contradictory to that, and you're like, no, I do this because logically it makes sense. Ask yourself why, and then ask yourself why 3 or 4 times, and at the bottom, you're like, and then I feel good at the end, or I didn't want to be stressed or something. You know, we always do something to get away from some sort of pain and to get towards some sort of pleasure. And it makes sense. All we have is our feelings. No matter what actions we partake, no matter what we do, no matter what we have in our bank account, ultimately do it to feel good. That's what we have. That's all we have. So if we can learn to capture these forces and to use both pain and both pleasure constructively, we can actually change how we feel and how much motivation, how much emotion we create. So some of this process can be scary because a lot of the time we don't admit to ourselves how much pain we're in. If we think of a midlife crisis, the person probably wasn't enjoying their job for 20 years, but only after 20 years do they find like, oh my God, I hate my job, man. And then everything breaks. But if they had admitted to themselves that pain sooner in the piece, they would have had the motivation to change because, man, this sucks, I hate this job. I'm going to do something about that. And this is what happened to me. I actually have an engineering degree and I absolutely hated it. I procrastinated all of it. And I got to the end of my degree and I was really too scared to do anything else because I was a little good kid and I did what my parents said. And like, go do engineering, you'll be safe. And I'm like, okay, parents. And at the end of my degree, I sat there and I just visualized what would my life be like 20 years from now if I continued to do that. And I just saw this depressed dude at a desk. I don't even know what engineering is like because I hardly studied it, but I just imagine some dude at a desk like, ooh, that's how I'd feel. And that lit up a picture of me that like, I will not live that life. And that was really what motivated me to start making big decisions, because that painful thing in my mind, I didn't want to face that. I'd rather create a life of joy. And now I've really motivated myself more from like, what would be freaking sick? Like, what would I like to share with you guys? What would I want to do on a day-to-day basis? Now, pleasure motivates me, but pain always motivates us. So basically, my understanding of motivation is a desire to change. And if you don't have a reason to change, you won't change. But a lot of the time, we all have a reason, but we won't admit that reason to ourselves because we're not willing to ask ourselves the intrusive questions and face those hard answers that we want to see. But once you realize that those truths, if they're painful or if they feel good, they're the things that are going to get you to where you want to go. You're going to want to go and poke at those things. If you've been struggling to change, you need a reason. So you want to poke yourself in the heart with a knife a little bit, okay? So we want to avoid pain or anticipate pleasure. So another thing is like you might have this idea of something you want to do in the future. It's not even real, but that anticipation for that reward, that what if, that can motivate you. Like all the champions, before they win, before they earn that you know, the grand final, whatever it is, it's just an idea in their head that they're trying to get. They may never get there, but that motivates them to train so hard, to push so hard. It's all in their mind, okay? So, can we create motivation? Do you guys believe that you can create motivation? Yeah, okay, how do we do it? How do we get this guy to plug in his pink heart so he has unlimited motivation to do everything? First of all, we need to understand how the mind works. Because if you understand how the mind works, you can do anything, really. And I hope these are actually whiteboard markers. Yeah. Okay, cool. So if we look at how the mind works, we have thoughts. I'm heavily simplifying this, and emotions. And those emotions and thoughts are what create our actions. And that's what creates our results. So a lot of people make the mistake of always just trying to change their actions, and they don't realize that you actually have to do some work up here in the mind to change the way you think and to utilize this thing, which then creates the actions, which creates the results. And it takes a lot of willpower working down here instead of making a couple little tweaks up here. So let's go into a couple of main attributes that we need to understand how the mind works for us to understand how to create motivation. The first is the mind is an interpretation machine. So I use this picture here because one person's saying one thing and it's really, really clear to them, but that person's like, what the fuck you saying, man? I got no idea, okay? And has this happened to anyone? Have we been like really trying to, not even in an argument, like in a nice non-heated discussion, trying to clarify our point, and that person just doesn't get it. It just doesn't make sense. It's because we interpret reality. So we're not seeing reality, we're seeing our idea of reality in our mind. So in any situation, where our body actually creates a feeling in response to the interpretation, not the situation itself. Does that make sense, guys? So if I'm in a situation right now, if I was interpreting that you guys all hated me and I was a shit speaker, I'd be like, feeling really crappy and hardly expressing myself. But because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm here to serve these people, my interpretation of this situation is like, this is sick. That actually what gives me the confidence to speak. It's not like I'm not thinking I'm good enough. I'm like, yeah, this is fun. And therefore I then feel really happy and excited, and then I express myself really happy and excited. So once we understand that however the mind perceives reality creates the feeling, that kind of gives us a bit of evidence like maybe we can create motivation by changing the way we interpret reality. The second thing to understand is the mind is a simulation-based machine. So if I take you back to the time where I was thinking about my 20 years in the future being a sad engineer, how come I could visualize that, but then I felt the emotion? And it's because not only do we interpret reality, but we just make shit up in our heads. So you can have like, if anyone's been anxious or anything before, you can have an assumption of like, oh, this person's probably judging me and this and this and this, and all this bad stuff's happening in your head. But then you'll feel the actual feeling because you're looking at this idea in your head. It's your brain's running a simulation, an assumption. It's trying to project what it already knows and make a picture up. But then you react to the picture. So our brain is a simulation-based machine. They've actually heavily studied this. They had a group of basketballers shooting free throws. Does anyone here play basketball or has played basketball? Come on, guys. Yeah, okay. So, free throws. Basically, they had 3 groups. They had 120 guys. They had 3 groups of people. In the first group, they made the guys practice, I think, 20 throws a day for 20 days. The second group, they made the guys visualize in their mind throwing the free throw. And if they missed it in their head, then they visualized getting it in. And the third group just shot on the first day, shot on the last day to see. And what happened is the first group went up about 24% in their accuracy. They mustn't have been that good to begin with if they went up that much. The second group who visualized it went up 23%. So they hadn't even shot a single free throw, but in their mind, by doing that, it actually sends almost like the same pattern through your body, and your body can learn it as well. And they actually did this. They did testing on guys who were imagining doing movements, and they're actually getting slight muscle twitches and slight muscle contractions from the movements that we imagine. So whatever we simulate in our mind actually happens in our body, and our body responds to that, and that gives us the feeling, and then that feeling is going to give us the action. So if you can learn to control what's going on up in here, then you can create the result that you want. Does that make sense, guys? So we have a interpretation machine and we have a simulation machine. So how do we use this thing? Because most people, we're generally a slave to our mind. Our mind's like bing, 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 oh, stressful, worry, bing, 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 oh, yeah. Instead of it being a tool. The way I like to see the mind is that it's something that I use to create the life that I want. So if I have a problem, I use my mind to solve that problem. But I don't let my mind rule me. I don't let excessive worrisome thoughts, and I don't let all these things create my actions. I decide where I focus my mind. That creates the feeling, and that creates my result. And once you realize that, I call it the spotlight principle, I just made it up, but once you realize that you can direct where your mind focuses, and with that focus, you can create the feeling, then you can create the actions that you want. So here's an example of that. Where's my little picture here? Yeah, this is what we do all the time. This is what I'm doing right now. Let's say, generally speaking, when I'm a personal trainer, you're doing a sales consultation with someone. And the whole point of the sales consultation, you're not trying to sell them anything. Really heart-centered sales is, I just talk to that person, and I ask them what they want, and then I help try and paint that picture in their mind for them. And then I'm like, well, how sick would it be to lose that weight? Oh, hell yeah. And then we just spend time painting that picture in their mind. And I'm kind of acting like a spotlight for them. I'm helping them direct their mind to what could be. I'm helping them paint that picture in their mind. And then them feeling that feeling, are we going right for time or something? Okay, cool. Them feeling that feeling is what actually makes them make that hard decision. Going down the journey of buying personal training, committing to wanting to change their life. All I did was ask them questions, and I directed their focus. And wherever we direct the focus of our mind, like a spotlight, if I want to focus on a time when everyone was picking on me and life was shit, I'm going to feel shit. If I want to remember back to a time where everything was going really well, I can feel really good. And if you guys spent the time, if you sat down for a minute and you thought about one of the toughest times in your life, I'm sure you could feel that emotion very quickly. And again, if you thought about one of the most beautiful times, you could feel that too. That shows you that wherever you put your focus, everything else follows. So how do we generate more focus? How do we direct the spotlight to where we want it to be? The biggest thing I've found is the biggest thing I found is through questions, especially if we're doing it ourselves. If you have a really good coach or a really good mentor, they can act as a mirror to kind of guide you where you want to be. But if you're working with yourself, you need to ask yourself the right questions. Questions that will make you think in a way that you haven't thought before. So this is when we think about pain-generating questions. If we remember that both pleasure and pain motivate us, if we ask questions with the intentional result of showing us how we're not satisfied with something, and there's nothing wrong with experiencing pain, that emotion is feedback to tell you that you're not happy with something. And then you will want to change, okay? So I've got some questions here, and I'm actually going to give you guys a big list of questions. These aren't the best, I just couldn't think of some good ones to put up because I rushed this. So what bad habits are you currently practicing, and how are they affecting your life? And truly think about that. Like if you're spending all this money on alcohol and you're drinking at night, and that's affecting your relationship, and that's affecting how you get up in the morning, like how is that actually affecting your life? And by you admitting that to yourself, you're admitting to yourself how much pain you've been creating in your own life. And then you're going to be like, holy crap, why was I doing that to myself? I'm going to change. I have a reason to change. Let's backtrack. I forgot to say one thing, actually. In the pain pleasure example, let's just think of a guy or a girl, whoever it is, really unhealthy, really overweight, and many of their loved ones or family or whatever might like, why don't you do something about it? And one of the common things you might hear is like, look, I'm really enjoying my life the way it is. Why would I want to change anything? But they can keep going that way for a period of time until they go to the doctors, get a checkup. Doctors like, you have some extremely terrible disease. then all of a sudden, because of the pain that person is experiencing, they're like, oh my God, I don't want to die. Oh my God, all these fearful thoughts come up. That person can change their life in an instant. It wasn't any rational decision. It was the pain that made them change their life because they had a moment, they had a realization of what they were actually doing. These questions, we're trying to create that same thing within you. If you ask the right question, you feel like, oh my God, why was I doing that? All of a sudden, you can do something different. So if we go back to the questions. So ultimately, what will I miss out on my life if I don't make the shift I know I should? What have you been putting off? That was one question we asked Kathleen in the life coaching. She's a bit scared of, but what have we been putting off in our lives that we know we really want to do or feel like we should be doing? What is it costing me mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? One really amazing exercise I did is like, the guy prefaces in the book, like, if an area of your life is alive, it will feel passionate, it'll feel excited, you'll look forward to that area of your life. But if your area of your life doesn't feel like, in other words, it's dead, there's no energy going there. And many of us have several dead areas of our life. We're not excited in our career, we're not excited in our relationships the way it once was, but we won't admit to ourselves where it's at. But once you admit that, there's nothing wrong with admitting that, because by admitting that, you're saying to yourself, look, I do want it to be alive again. It hurts being it dead. Fuck having a dead area of my life, let's have an alive area of my life. Do the pain questions make sense, guys? Like when you really poke at something that you didn't want to see. Unfortunately, many of us live a lot like zombies. We just run away from our emotions, even though they're trying to tell us to change. We're like, oh, emotions are scary. I'm not going to listen to that. I'm just going to keep doing this over here. Once you actually listen to your emotions, there's nothing wrong with a painful emotion. It's trying to tell you like, hey man, like do something for your health. You look after yourself a little bit, okay? Same deal with pleasure generating questions. These, on the other hand, I find are much more beautiful. For some people, we struggle at thinking big. We struggle at, like some of these questions, if you had 3 wishes and if money or possibility wasn't an issue, how would you contribute to make the world a better place? That's a very big question to ask yourself. And with some of my clients, like, that's too much to ask, but I might be like, if you had an hour free, what would you want to do with yourself to have fun? Like, a lot of the time we don't actually ask questions that would bring us joy within ourselves, but ultimately the aim of these questions is to help get an idea of what you really want and then paint an idea of that in your mind. Because once you have that painting in your mind, that will create the emotion within you, like, oh, it would be nice to have that. And once you have that feeling, then you're willing to do something about it. But if you have nothing you want up here, why would you do anything? If you have no reason to do anything, why would you do it? And a lot of people think it's bad to want stuff, but if you want something for a really good reason, it gives you a nice feeling, and you're not hurting anyone in the process, I think that's a really beautiful thing. Like, why not make life like a playground where you can have all your toys and run around and have fun? So other questions, like, what's your ideal day? And don't think like, well, yeah, well, get up, then I'll work. Like, if your ideal day doesn't include work, just paint that picture in your mind. Like, I'd like to get up and have 3 cocktails and some heroin. No heroin. And then 3 more cocktails, and then no. So whatever your ideal day is, have a think about it. Doesn't mean right now you're gonna get there, but having that idea, that possibility is what we're trying to create. Having that feeling in your mind, okay? So, another really powerful thing is visualization. And most of these questions are a form of visualization, but when you run that scenario through your mind, that's what creates the response in your body. And you can run any scenario through your mind, and you can actually then gauge, how would I feel in this scenario? So if someone's like, yeah, I want to be an engineer, and they think about it, and they get a good feeling, go and do it. Like, if you have a good feeling about sitting behind a desk and doing technical stuff, and you actually get that response, that's great. You can use visualization as a tool to gauge how you would feel about something as well. What did I write here? Every morning, visualize your ideal day and your ideal life. The more you get better at doing that, and the better you can create that picture, the more you'll believe it. And when you believe something, you can actually take the action. So if I say to you right now, like, you can make the life of your dreams, you're like, fuck off. Like, that might be bullshit, you know? Like, a lot of us would say that. But if you can see it up here, all of a sudden you're like, actually, I've seen it up here and it felt okay. Maybe I will take that action. And that's what we've done. Like, a few years ago, I wasn't even a PT, and now I'm speaking in front of you guys. And I did that purely just off faith, because I thought I could do it up in here. And now it's come to real because I thought I could do it, I did it. If you don't think you can do something, you won't do it. So you need to create that picture. The last thing, this is not spoken about enough, and it looks a little bit lame and girly, but it's really important. A lot of us don't put ourselves first, and this is an emotional cup, okay? It's a cup full of emotions. And when we're trying to do more in our lives, we have to realize that we do have a finite amount of energy physically, but especially emotionally. Most of us do need to work on our physical more, but I'm talking about motivation today. So emotionally. So if you're not doing things on a regular basis that make you feel energized emotionally, how are you going to have any extra energy to give to anything else? So if you love doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, hey, you're not allowed to do those for 10 years. And you're like, oh. And I'm like, no, go do something really hard. it's going to be the most painful thing ever. But if you go home, spend an hour like spending some time with your loved one, which you really love, playing with your dog, eating some nice food, watching a show, whatever you like to do, you're going to feel great. And then, yeah, I'm sure I'll go do some work. I feel great. And then you're going to have a good day and you can actually contribute to the lives of others more. Oh, okay. And contribute to the lives of others more. So until you actually look after your own emotional needs, unfortunately, we live in a society where that's not really valued. And sometimes we actually forget what's important to us. We forget, like, I like playing video games, you know, I like doing this. Once you remember these things and you do them on a regular basis, it's not selfish, that's actually your needs. Like if you were raising a kid, you wouldn't just rip all your kids' toys away and be like, just work, kid. Like how would the kid feel? They're gonna feel shit. But we do that to ourselves, and that's why we feel shit a lot of the time. So that's the last piece in the pie. Make sure that A, you're asking yourself questions that bring out answers that maybe you weren't willing to see, maybe you didn't realize you needed that answer. B, visualize the life that you would like. If you can only visualize this big and visualizing this small, sorry, let me clarify. If I can visualize like tomorrow would be sick if I did this, but I try and visualize bigger than that and I don't get an emotional response and it feels like I'm bullshitting myself and it feels closed off, you're trying to visualize too big. You can only visualize as much as you've practiced visualizing. So if like I can visualize building a health center and healing half the planet because I visualize it so much and it excites me, but if some other person tried to do that, they might just feel like they're bullshitting themselves. So you can only visualize and stretch a little bit more than your current reality and then go a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until you can paint a really big picture. So start small, think big with your visualizations and look after yourself. Like we only have how we feel at the end of the day. Obviously we have all our responsibilities and that's really important, but at the end of the day, all you have is how you feel. So once you've met your responsibilities, look after yourself a little bit, find what gives you joy, do those things, and that's going to give you the energy to do other things in your life. That's motivation done. Thank you, guys. Whew.
How's everyone doing?
Great.
All right. Yeah, that's what I want to hear. So, you guys are up for a test. Who was paying attention? Yeah, all right. What was your favorite What was your favorite takeaway from, or your key takeaway from Joel's section that he talked about?
I would say that you've got to have a little bit of belief in yourself and visualize it, and then it's breaking into what this is imperative. What do you then have to work out in the movements to get to that?
Very cool. I like that. That's a good segue into what I'm talking about as well. Talking about putting the steps in place and achievable steps in place as well. So again, what we're going to talk about, goal setting, there are going to be some principles that we went through last month, for the guys of you that were here. If you weren't here on last month, it doesn't matter because these seminars are designed to be learned through individually as well so you can understand everything you need to learn and then we can go win life, right? Who wants to win life? Yeah, all right, I need some hands up, guys. Who wants to win life? All right, that's right. Yeah, thank you, Cal. Thank you, Joel. So, number one, when you set goals, it's a good idea to set yourself up to win. Who likes winning? All right. Yeah. So, don't be afraid to get messy. Be realistic. Be authentic. Revise, 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 revise. So, what does that mean? Don't be afraid to get messy. When you think about it, and this is a thing for me as well, and I'm sure probably half of you guys in the room will resonate with this more, but it's the perfectionism or it's the desire that everything needs to be perfect before we are willing to take the first step. And Joel kind of mentioned faith was a very important thing, and it is, because faith allows you to believe in yourself, to know that you don't need to have every step in place, to trust that you can handle not having everything perfect. This guy is he's a tradesman, right? Look how tradesman-esque he looks. He's got a lot of tools, but let's say this tradesman is offering a service. He's like, I'm a handyman. So there's a handyman, cool, he fixes things, call him up, can you do this? Yep, sweet, no dramas. But then he earns enough cash, he invests that cash and buys himself a floor polisher. Now he can be like, I'm a handyman, I also offer floor polishing services. And then as he gets more successful, he gets a truck and he gets a second guy on board. Second guy on board means he can offer different jobs. So his goal in life might have originally been, I want to be a handyman. But then once he gained more tools and learned new skills and upgraded who he was able to think from a different place because he was aware of what he was capable of. So over time, your awareness will expand as you will grow, your awareness of yourself and what you're capable of, and your belief in yourself will constantly change. And we all know it, because when I was a kid, like this, I wanted to be a sumo wrestler. That was my first ever goal. When mum and dad said, "What do you want to be, Josh?" And I want to be a sumo wrestler. That was legitimately, and every single time, well, you could eat more McDonald's, Josh. I'm like, I don't like McDonald's. I did actually, but the point was, as I started to grow into myself, I'm like, I'm probably not. I was Asian. I got that one right, but I wasn't born to be a sumo wrestler. I might go back to it in the future, but not yet. But as we grow and expand, I was like, I'm going to be a diesel mechanic. And then, as you all know, that didn't go very well. Actually, it went really well because it set me up to be here. But now I stepped into coaching and training, and then Joel used to make jokes because I used to I'd spend an hour with a client, and then I knew it was the mindset that was holding them back. And when you know it, you can't let it go. And then I would spend half an hour after my session teaching them how to meditate, and I'm like, yeah, download this app and put the effort, and then I would take him through like a guided body scan, which is made up on the spot. And then Joel was like, oh, you're a life coach. I'm like, fuck off, Josh, I'm a personal trainer. But then after I learned to accept that, then I'm like, wow, I actually really want to life coach people. And now I really want to expand that reach and deliver seminars and speak, and the goals go on. So don't be afraid to get messy. Don't say to yourself that everything needs to be perfect, because it never will be. That perfectionism isn't really a thing. It's just a thing that we decided to call a thing to justify the fear of not taking action. Being realistic is the next thing. Now, the symbolism I've used here is a guy walking upstairs, a guy walking up steps, and there's a ruler there. Measurable and tangible. Measurable means it's measurable, which also means you can diagnose where you're at if something doesn't feel right, or if you don't feel like you're on the right path, or something's clearly come your way that's like, actually, this was unideal, this is wrong, okay? So having things measurable gives you a place to, or gives you a tool to actually make sure you're back on track. It also allows you to work out if you're moving at the right pace, or if you're moving too fast. Tangible means it's got to be realistic to you. Tangible means it's so close to you and you understand it fully that you're willing to take the step, and then you have the belief. So, we can say like, oh, you're going to get this and you're going to get this if we give you this, but if you don't understand what that thing is, there's no motivation, there's no drive. So you need to connect those, okay? It's like you are the power source and your goal is the light bulb, and until there's an actual connection of a wire, it won't light up. So if you understand that what you want, you have to know what it is and know that it's possible before you can internally connect that wire, before you take that step. Being authentic. Set goals that are congruent to who you are. Black and white slide, it's not really black and white. Bit of a grey area because most of us don't even know who we are. And I coach people on how to find out who they are. And yesterday I drove home and I sat in my driveway and I'm like, who the fuck am I? And you go through those moments, you're like, is this really me? And you question. But I've learned to always question things, and I've learned that I like to question things, and sometimes I dig myself in holes and I come back out and I'm inspired again. But setting goals that are congruent to who you are, I'm not going to go too deep in it, but just understand that we are vastly unique as human beings, and therefore when we set things for what we want to do, make sure it's what you truly, 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 truly want. Because as Joel mentioned, everything stems from an emotion. So if we're up on the surface the whole entire time, like, I want to do this, or I want to do this, I want to do this, and you're constantly trying all these different things, try thing 1, thing 2, thing 3, thing 4, thing 5, but they're all actually stemming from, I'm really unhappy from this person that told me I could never do it, or I got broken up by this person broke my heart, and therefore I'm going to, these things, whether it's a positive trauma or a negative trauma, these things are going to, they stem from somewhere. And we need to identify where these things stemming from, because the relentless pursuit to achieve goals, some goals are big, some goals are small, but no matter what, a goal isn't really a goal unless you experience some sort of challenge, because that's when the fulfillment, when you break through those things. But when you set a goal and things get challenging, if it's actually not what you truly, truly care about, you go, oh, fuck, I'm done. I don't really care about it. I did gymnastics once and I did 2 weeks and I thought I wanted to do gymnastics, but I just wanted to have fun. So I started that, and then when it got challenging, I was like, actually, I don't like this. And if we constantly do this, and if we just take a moment to reflect on your life, what are 5 different pursuits we've taken that we've dropped off? And was it the reason we didn't like the thing, or was it the reason that we dropped off was that the thing that we were chasing, wasn't actually the source of the happiness or the fix of the pain? Just think about that. So the 5 whys, Joel's mentioned this. This is not exactly the whys, the 5 whys. It's just generally it takes about 5 whys to get to it. So it's not, even though it says 5 steps there, it's not the 5s, all right? You ask yourself why you want something, and then you write that down. And then you ask yourself, why do I want that? Write it down. Why do I want that? Write it down. Loop and repeat, and loop and repeat until you can't get anywhere. And then you've gone as deep as you're capable of. Some people might go deeper. If you ask Buddha, he might be able to find in a few layers deeper. But the deeper you can learn to understand yourself, the sooner you can learn to feel aligned with what you're doing. And then once you're more aligned, you trust more. You have more faith in yourself to walk those steps. I really like this image. It's also a very talented artist. I looked on Google Images and I was like, searching stuff, and I was like, how can I symbolize and summarize what I just brought up? It's pretty simple. Above the surface, we just see this, whether it's a lighthouse or a silo or the tip of a building or something. It's actually quite beautiful. But a lot of us tend to see it, that's all we get to see. And then outside that, then there's just a lot of space behind it. And when we feel empty inside, we notice emptiness outside of us. And if you completely eliminate the bottom 2/3 of that image, can you imagine if just what we saw there was your entire world, and that's all you got to experience, and the whole time you were looking up, knowing that there was more to this experience and knowing that there was more that you could have had. But you just never learnt how to look down or look inside or look beneath the surface. And then you get to discover the true beauty, the true power of what is beneath, what is inside every single one of you. And when you learn to connect that, and when you learn to embrace it and not judge it and really, really love it, that's when you become powerful, and that's when you discover your true talents, and that's when you can get on the right path. Swap that image for a tree. Think about the bigger a tree grows, its roots are going to even bigger, and that's when it becomes more stable and strong. And the larger a tree is, the more shade it can offer the world, the more nutrients, the more oxygen it can supply. So, getting back on track, my 2-step process to achieving any goal you want. How many? 2. All right. 2-step process. Number 1, line up all of your dominoes in place. All of them. Not all of them, otherwise you'd be like, perfectionism, right? Put the big dominoes in place. And then you focus. That was my joke, it was forward focus. And then you focus. And you focus on nothing else but number 1, okay? I don't even like the car, I just got it. So, you focus on number 1 and you focus on nothing else. What does focus mean? Suggestions. What does focus mean? Attention. Yes. What else do we focus? Laser vision, yeah? Intention. You're on fire today. Time, energy, attention, awareness. Whatever it is. If you're truly dedicated, I was walking too fast, sorry. If you're truly dedicated to achieving what you want to achieve, focus is really the only way. Why do I know? Because I'm the least focused in the room. Sometimes Navarra as well. We overcame that. We're getting there. Maybe me. He's giving me the look. So, I'm going to introduce you to a tool that I and we as a business that we use, that we give all our clients to use as well when we build this. It's just, consider Trello an online pin-up board. That's all it is. We all like pin-up boards, or we like vision boards and stuff like this, and post-it notes and pins and stuff, but most of us has probably stepped on a pin when they fall off the board. But in this day and age, if you have access to a tool like this, everything's online. You can access it on your phone. You can access it on anything. So I'm going to teach you how to use this tool. You don't have to use this tool, but I'm going to teach you how to do it. And then you get to, I'm going to show you how you can really stay on track with what you need to do at any point in time. As long as you got this rectangle piece of slippery glass in your pocket, you have access to your goals, okay? So that's just the logo, so we're imprinting in my mind when we go to Google Trello, we're going to find it. Trello's free to use as well, by the way. So this is what the layout of looks like. So I've just gone ahead and asked a few people as well, what are some common goals that most of the people in the room are likely going to have. So then when I set these goals for you, I've done your goal setting for you. So who would like to drop 5 kilos? Not me, but who would? Come on, hands up, nice and high. Who would like to, cool, 5 kilos is a good one. Who would like to gain 5 kilos of muscle mass? Yeah, in the boys of the house, yeah. All right, just so you know, ladies in the room, 5 kilos that's a big stretch, but 5 kilos would be nice to have. Imagine swapping, when all the goals that you want, I want to be toned and flat stomach and a big old butt, all that kind of stuff. Dropping 5 kilos of body fat and gaining 5 kilos of muscle is a nice goal to set for all of you. Who would like to see their extended family overseas? Yeah? Or interstate? Or who wants a holiday? Yeah, all right, yeah, hands go up. Everyone wants a holiday. Who would like to become financially free? Me. All right, I'm going to tell you how to become financially. Is anyone excited to become financially free today? Yeah. It's not as easy as it looks. I've been working on it. Who wants to pay off their mortgage? Who wants to get a mortgage so they can pay it off? Yeah, right. Who would like to read a book a month? Yeah? What about get a promotion? Anyone want a promotion in the room? Or anyone want to upskill themselves? Or anyone want to go to the next level? Or promote their life to go from this job to a better job, okay? Promotion represents transition of where you are now. Who wants that? Cool, all right. Well, let's do it. Let's work this out. So, step 1, all right? Write out all your life goals. Drop 5 kilos, gain 5 kilos of muscle mass, blah, 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 the ones we all just mentioned. Number 1, just spill them, spew. Chuck them all on the floor. Like when you're building Lego, just pour them all out on the floor. Like puzzles, pour it out and then get stuck at it. Then you sort yourself in place, okay? When we make those puzzles, right, just pour it all out there, and then from there we're going to put the border in place, okay? Find the corner pieces, okay? It's a strategy now. The next thing we do, okay, very similar. You realign the goals into order as you were to do with dominoes, right? Same goals, moved them to the top. So financially free is probably going to be the biggest stretch. Paying off the mortgage, see the extended family overseas, all the way down to dropping 5 kilos, okay? Just a little fitness tip, always try and lose weight first before you start to gain the muscle mass because your body works better and it's more happier when there's less fat on it. So from there, we're going to expand on all of the goals, okay? So if we look at the very left column here, we've got big life goals, which is just this list we had here, okay? Then from there, the very first goal is become financially free. So in here, become financially free, I've written out all the major steps to do so. You'd probably want $2 million in property. It's going to give you about $2,000 a year in, $2,000 a week in income, not including tax and all that kind of stuff. But ballparking, if you've got like a 500K property fully paid off, it's probably going to give you about $500 a week in rent. So $2,000 a week is $100,000 a year of passive income. This is about the benchmark I originally set for myself before I started as a diesel mechanic. You don't have to do it this way, but this is a ballpark. Who wants $2 million in property? Yeah, I do. So who just wants one $2 million property? Yeah. So from there, paying off the mortgage, see extended family overseas, get promotion, read a book a month, okay? Boom, 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 boom. Make yourself aware of what it takes because when shit gets hard, you're like, well, I actually saw that coming, okay? But then we can prepare ourselves for it. So what I've done is I'm just zoomed in to the very end of it. So we're working our way from the right to the left, okay? Lose 5 kilos, gain 5 kilos of muscle mass, read a book a month, get a promotion. So let's focus just on here, right? What would we need to do to lose 5 kilos a month? Probably the quickest way to do it is book 10 PT sessions over 5 weeks to get the momentum going, get some sort of accountability, and that's going to remove all the initial barriers of you getting started. The moment you drop some coin on that, the moment you drop some cash, the moment you give yourself permission to heal, permission to grow, permission to expand. The moment, because money, we're all here to make money. So it's a very strong symbol for ourselves to accept that we're willing to upgrade, right? Book 10 PT sessions over 5 weeks. You're probably going to have to learn a little bit more about nutrition so you can actually be sustainable with this journey. Then from there, I think it might be an idea just to learn how to cook better, or we can swap the word better for efficiently or effectively, whatever it is. Just be more fluent in the kitchen, because your PT sessions over 5 weeks are going to be great in regards to output. However, input, you still need to think about what you're putting inside your body. Otherwise, you put shit in your body, shit's going to come out. Meal prep weekly, high intensity train about 3 times per week. Once you've achieved that, then you want to move on to maybe adding in a strength day as well. Once you're there, you should have lost 5 kilos by now. Sweet, we can cross that one off the list. Now we're here, 5 kilos of muscle mass. Well, we've already lost the 5 kilos of weight that we've already put in there. Then there, we're going to have to up our calories to support like the result of trying to get more muscle. And then from there, maybe add an extra training day as well, 5 days a week. So you're starting off by just doing 2 a week here. Then you're going to work all the way up to adding in 3 days, 4 days, and then by that times you 5 days per week. Reading a book a month. I want to improve, so the first thing you need to do to read a book a month is improve health so I can concentrate for longer and have more energy. So if you see here, basically at the end of at the bottom of every list is the previous goal. So lose 5 kilos, lose 5 kilos. Become healthy, which is those 2, read a book a month. Get a promotion, I've said there, read 10 books per year. If you wanted to get a promotion, I'm sure if you had 10 books and actually applied the knowledge from those 10 books, you'd probably be more than 10 times more intelligent, or able to be more than 10 times more intelligent. Joel said it to me the most beautiful way. If you think about it, a book, you could probably smash it out in 2-3 weeks. 200-300 pages, 10 pages a day, however you want to work it out. In a single book, right, that costs probably $20, is a single person's entire life work to the point where they've been successful in that category / topic, and they're giving you all their pains and experiences. Like, we're talking about 40 years of an entire journey of them becoming super successful, then simplifying it into a way that you can understand and digest, and you can have access to that knowledge wherever you want in the world. $20 to learn how to run a company, or learn how to life coach, or learn how to repot indoor plants, whatever it is that you want to do, there's a book for everything. I bought an indoor plant book. I'm really excited. It arrives in about a week. When you look at these goals, they're all pretty straightforward. They're step by step by step by step. So, boom, exceed extended family overseas, pay off the mortgage, become financially free, big life goals. I did this in about 30 minutes. Including walk around the gym. I'm like, hey, Cosmo, what's your big life goal? He's like, pay my house off, thank you. And I went in there, pay off the mortgage, worked out how to pay off the mortgage, okay? So all these steps we want to do, just so you know, these are the steps I put in place to becoming financially free. Because we all want to become financially free? Yeah. Starting investing in property is probably a good place to start. Pay off your mortgage, start investing in shares. As we all know, we need to diversify our portfolio and our income streams. Get an investment coach or mentor. That's just the person who wrote the book. Just be able to consult them weekly. That's a fast track to success there. Daily investment. Just so you know, if you invest in a coach or a mentor, you can write that off on tax as well. Okay. So from there, this is a good one. Speak to as many people as I can who are financially free and ask them for advice. What books did you read? How did you do it? What was the hardest thing? Oh, that's going to set you up real good to win. From there, 2 million property, job done. Okay. That's how you do it. And as long as you know those dominoes are placed, at any point in life, you could be Saturday and you're wasted, and then you're feeling a bit off, and you're like, oh, that's right, I'm not on the path that I want to be on. And then you can move back on. If you wake up in the morning, you'd be like, why do I feel empty about this week? Oh, that's right, I'm not doing anything in relation to this. But I told myself I want it, okay? When we wind it back, I haven't even done the 10 PT session. You might not need it. I haven't even done the basic nutrition. So be very aware of yourself, of what it takes. How am I doing for time? Anyone? Okay. I talk a lot, guys. I get really enthusiastic in front of her. Hey? 22 minutes. All right. I want to do a little thing with you guys. Mez inspired me. He impromptu'd me. So, From there, okay, your next step. Step number 4, pick your most tangible 5-year goal and your most tangible 1-year goal. What is one that you like, oh yeah, that's actually a thing? Like, because becoming financially free is like floating in a cloud right now. I'm like, oh, I want that. But 5 kilos, dropping it, that's a thing. Anyone can start that journey right now. There's not a lot in there. Becoming financially free, okay? So what's our most tangible 5-year goal? I picked it. Getting a promotion is probably a tangible 5. If we do it in 4 years, 3 years, fuck yeah, that's all sweet. But make it tangible, because then they're your major milestones, your major focal points, okay? Get a promotion, and the other one here is improve health so I can concentrate for longer and have more energy. Because if I'm, low energy or my motivation spikes are more in the downward curve and in that low laying field, you're going to be less likely to get that promotion. If you don't get the promotion, you're going to be less likely to be able to see your extended family overseas, okay? And then forget about everything else, okay? So focus on your major steps. So from there, we then map out the 1-year goal. So this is, we've scrolled across on this Trello board now, and I've made a legend just for color coding because I like to make things pretty. Then from there, you just throw your months in. February, March, April, May, June, July, okay? So these little rectangles that we put in here, like just the white rectangles, this is what we call a card, okay? So Trello is kind of like Solitaire, okay? When you just move your things across, okay? And you can rearrange things, but the cool thing in Solitaire, the thing about Solitaire, you can't rearrange the orders, right? But in this you can, okay? A little bit more flexible than Solitaire, but this is the layout we're talking about, okay? So one for every month, and then what we do is we extrapolate our major goals onto a timeline. So then now it becomes a little bit more realistic, okay? This is how to like logically build faith, by the way, okay? And I'm just gonna recap on that in a second. So, improving health so I can concentrate longer and have more energy, okay? So this is an orange goal. So, on the legend, fitness goals, okay? So we know that this, and I've done this for you guys, so this is starting in March, in about a week's time. So if we know that in March, we're gonna book 5 weeks PT, we wanna train 2 days a week, learn basic nutrition, lose 2 kilos. That is our March milestones. Just so you know, you can lose 2 kilos in a week if you really put your mind to it. That's all you need to do for March. And I've set this really, really achievable. And then you put the rest into April. What do I have to do for April? By that time, I would have gone through my 6 weeks of training, so I can start training solo. That's another milestone. Train 3 days per week. I'm training solo. Well, I'm in charge of my own schedule. I don't have to wait for anyone else. You slot in another day. From there, I'm actually going to do a basic cooking class because that's the fastest way to learn, is just by learning from someone who's actually wanting to teach it. Do a basic cooking class and then lose 3 kilos. Another 3 kilos, and that's your 5 kilos in total. You've dropped 5 kilos in 2 months, plus you've learned how to cook and you've barely tried, okay? And then from there, when May comes around, that's when you know, all right, let's start the muscle building, let's increase our diet, because we know how to cook now, we know basic nutrition, and then you just move on and move on and move on, okay? And then what I've even done is the next goal, because March is so easy, we might as well start the next goal as well, reading a book a month. What would we need to do to read a book a month? Well, I think a good place to start is in February. We can do this as of today. Reduce TV time to regain 3 hours a week. And I've got no time. If you cancelled your Netflix subscription, I can guarantee you would have a lot more time, right? Yeah, boo. No more Hill documentary, no. If you reduce your TV time, it's gonna create space for your mental digestion of being able to consume something else, right? Stop eating Maccas and then start eating healthy food. Stop eating, drinking, consuming fucking Today Tonight or whatever it is that Married at First Sight and oh God. So from there, whilst you're training, you might as well, in March, start listening to podcasts while driving. Very informal and casual nutrition for the brain. Very informal, but still very, very healthy for you. And also maybe research how to read faster. I could probably do that on the toilet. Oh, yes, okay. How to read faster. Oh, okay, 10 articles, sweet. And then that's me for the next 10 visits to my second office, right? Once you've nailed all your stuff in March, moving on to April, you would have been able to train 3 days a week solo. So in your training time, you might as well start listening to podcasts in your training time. Then you can start, that's like 3 hours of podcasts that you get, which is an overlap. So you're not even losing any extra time, you're just gaining more knowledge whilst you're getting healthy. That is what creates momentum. That is what creates belief. That's what creates faith and trust in yourself and excitement. And that's what creates the motivation spikes. Who wants motivation? Yeah! All right. So, what I've done, I've just zoomed in here as well. Okay, so that's what I just talked about. That's all the goals, just so a little bit clearer so you can see. Moving on. Oh. I added animations to this slide. Oh shit. Can I get a drum roll, please? Drum roll, please. Whoa! Shit. So we know if we decide to reduce our TV time by 3 hours per week, that directly influences our ability to lose 3 kilos. Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. Whoa! That means we get to get a promotion. It is directly in line with getting a promotion. How exciting is that? Just by dropping TV time, it means I'm getting a promotion. You turn the TV off, like, hey, what'd you do that for? It's like, I'm getting a promotion, guys. That's literally if we map that out in our head, that is actually the truth. It's no word of a lie, okay? Whoa! We get to see the extended family overseas. We get to share what we've created. We get to experience what we've earned, right? Who wants to be financially free? All right, yeah! Give us a yeah, everyone. Yeah, yeah! All right? $2 million in property. So if we all commit, every single one in this room, everyone, hand up. There you go. Hold on. Left hand up. Right hand on chest, on heart. I, thee. Insert name here. I want to say your name, guys. All right, okay, so I, thee. Come on, guys, let's do it again. I, thee. Yep. Pledge to. I'm not going to say cancel my Netflix subscription. Reduce TV time by 3 hours this week, which includes next week as well, just so you know. Okay? Thank you. So now you should know how to set and align your goals. You should also know how to identify your number 1 important goal and also your secondary most important goal, which is your 5-year tangible goal. And also how to break that down across the upcoming months to follow every single step, keep it simple, okay? Because our brain's thinking about a lot of shit. So to keep it simple, build our staircase to financial freedom. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. So my job today is to just teach you guys how to stay disciplined and action everything that's been talked about today. It's pretty easy, I guess it's pretty easy to goal set, right? Like everyone's set goals in one way or another, whether we sat down and wrote it out and set goals, or whether it's been something conscious and just a thought of I want that, I want a nice car, whatever. That's still a goal. That's still setting goals. So after implementing everything that everyone's spoken about today, and for those of you that attended the last seminar, you would have got more insight on how to goal set. But what I'm going to do now is going to teach you guys or help you guys in how to stay disciplined and stay accountable for what you need to do. It's a big question we got from the last seminar. Everyone was like, cool, I know how to set goals, I know what I want in life, but how do I stay focused and disciplined along that? And as you can tell, I haven't used the word motivate yet. The only reason why I'm going to use it now is because a thing that I got caught up on before I started running businesses was you always felt like I needed to be motivated. I always needed to wake up having this intense feeling that I need to go out and slay the day. The reality is most days I wake up and I'm like, oh, I can't be fucked. I'm just being honest. It's not, and everyone that I've studied and everyone I've worked with, they've all said the same thing. Everyone's trying to move away from the word motivation because the reality is let's say if you're going to go food shopping and you want to buy some food for your diet, right, and you want to lose 5 kilos or what have you. What happens when you go food shopping when you're hungry? You're motivated to get lots of food, right? You're motivated to eat bad food. The reality is we tend to be reactive to our feelings. So generally if we feel a certain way or emotional a certain way, we tend to be reactive of that. And so that's where motivation comes from. We're motivated dependent on our feeling and emotion at that time. And so the goal is to I'm going to give you some tips on how to stay disciplined, which in turn is motivation in a way, because what you do is you keep, regardless of how you're feeling on that day, regardless of whether you wake up tired, you're sore, so you don't want to go to the gym, you want to hang out with your partners, lay in bed and sleep in, regardless of how you're feeling at that time, you're able to tap back into your biggest desire, your biggest values, your biggest goals. And then being able to tap into that, that's going to create discipline and create focus so that you could actually go out and in turn do what is your highest desire, your highest hierarchy of value. Because how many of us have done something that felt like in that moment we wanted to do that, right? Like we were hungry or we wanted to sleep in, right? And we just do that. and it feels good in that moment, but then how many people regret that afterwards? You know, because later on you're like, oh, damn it. Like I actually really wanted to go to the gym, or I really wanted to put in that time to create my business. When I first started my first business before this gym, man, I was sleeping 3 hours a night. Something I wouldn't recommend it, but I just had to at that time. And the amount of times I'll wake up, the amount of times I'll finish, because I was working full time at my other job, which by the way, I fucking hated. And this is something that I get a lot of people come through that ask for business advice. They're like, well, I'm working this job, but I also want to do this differently. I want to change and move job. And they're like, should I just quit my job? I'm like, no. Like, because then you're not going to fill your hierarchy of needs in life of shelter and food and just to be able to survive and live. What I would recommend is just adding on to that more work. Just in that initial time, like Will is at the moment. So Will's working a full-time job, does not enjoy his job at all. But the guy knows that he needs to slay it. He needs to kick ass at his current job. He's working for us 15 hours a week as well and puts in overtime as well. So he literally works a full-time job. What time do you start your job? 6 a.m. or something? 6:30. Starts at 6:30. He'll get here at like 3:30, and then he'll start working 4 to 7 for us, and then he'll go home and do all the stuff at home. He has a mortgage to work through and everything as well, and he has a partner, you know, and that's what I respect Will for. I had to do that as well, and a lot of people that move into their own businesses have to do that. And now Will probably doesn't wake up every single day and be like, oh yeah, I can't wait to go to work. But the reality is he has to stay disciplined. He's not motivated to go to work. He's disciplined in having to go to work because that fulfills his highest desire. If he was to give into that feeling of not wanting to go to work, he's not going to get his highest desire of being able to run his own business and do that. So my goal now is to try and create some sort of action steps that you'll be able to follow on a weekly, day-to-day basis. I'm trying to keep it micro for you guys so that, I don't know if any of you know Aubrey Marcus or his book called Own the Day. The idea is, and a lot of people are talking about this, if you own your day every single day, then you own your future, you own your life. Because all you have in this moment is today. If you don't do well today, don't do well tomorrow, you don't do well the next day. In reality, that's just today, just in consecutive steps. If we own today, and that's my goal right now, is to help you do that, then you're going to own your future, you're going to get everything you desire, and everything that Joel and Josh spoke about today is all going to come true. But the reality is, it is today that creates that. So if we move away from like, oh, I'm going to wait for the right time, I'm going to wait for it to not to be busy. How many times have we said, I'm going to wait till it's not busy? That area that you're in at that time, that goes away, right? Then it gets filled with something else, right? It gets filled with some other business or a busyness. It gets filled with something else. We're always busy. And so the goal is to move away from motivation and help you guys create some sort of disciplinary steps. So, action. I'm massive into action. I'm always like, how can we, like if I run the meetings with the team, after I sit down with the team and we go over all of our goals and we discuss everything we want to achieve for the week, the team knows this. At the end of that, I'll be like, all right, guys, what is our action step? Kirsty, what are your action steps? Joel, what are your action steps? Every single time I do that, what is something tangible that we're going to put in place right now that's going to move us towards our goal? And how can we measure that? That's also something so important. We need to know our actionable steps that's going to move us towards what we want to achieve. And then we also need to have it measurable. We need to be able to measure whether we're actually staying true to what we said we would do and keep ourselves accountable. So, without action, you reap no rewards. It's a reality. Regardless of how talented you are, if we look at all the talented sportsmen in the world, if people generally look at sports, which is very interesting because there are some people that genetically like it basketball, but the reality is if you're talented, you still need action to go out. They still play the game, they still go to practice. It is action that creates those steps and get those rewards. Without action, there's no rewards. And so if you're sitting there and going, I wish I was this, and you're upset at the fact that you're not where you want to be, be real to yourself. Don't judge yourself. I'm not saying judge yourself, but be real to yourself and ask yourself, am I really putting in those action steps that are going to get me there? If you're not, the reality is you need to make a decision whether you're going to accept, because you don't need to be where you want to go. You could be okay where you are now, but if you want to go somewhere, you need to be real with yourself and ask yourself, are you doing the right thing to get there? If you're not, then tell yourself, okay, well, am I okay being here, or am I willing to make those steps to make it work? Otherwise, you have no reason to complain. If you're not where you want to be, not putting the steps in place, there's no reason to complain. You're not doing the work. Without action, you achieve no goals. Without action, you in fact go backwards in life. I'm big on this because the way I look at it is we are, as human beings, we're aging. So if we look at it from a biological standpoint, we're aging. Some people are getting younger, but we are aging. Our cells are deteriorating as we get older as well. Like, it's just natural. So if we're not moving forward, and I believe the purpose of life itself is the human race is to evolve and love and connect, right? But I believe evolution is our main purpose. Like, we add to this world and we're trying to evolve as a human race and move forward and improve so that our future could be better and just so the human race can continue. So if everything's moving forward, nature's moving forward, us as a human race is moving forward, but you're not, you're laying on the couch every single night watching Netflix, you're going backwards because everything else is going forward, you're here. So in reality, everything's moving away from you. And so a lot of people believe that if you're just staying still, you're staying still. No, in fact, I genuinely believe you're moving backwards. You get unhealthier, you get unfitter. You know, your mental state also starts to deteriorate because you're not triggering your mental state. You're stimulating it. There's no stimulation in your life. So if you're not moving forward, you're in fact moving backwards. And that really drives me to move forward. These are just big quotes from like massive people that I really respect. Nike, apparently I respect that person. Now, I respect their brand. I love their slogan, just do it. Every single time I ever go into anything, I always just tell myself, just do it. Just do it. The reality is, like our business coach told me this, was intellect is the historian of intuition. And so a lot of time we focus on thinking logically about our situation that we actually become paralyzed, we don't move. If we were to just move off intuition, if you go, I want to do this, like me, I just want to do something, start a business, I just want to create Strength and Motion Academy. I had no idea what I was doing. I'll tell you now, I don't know what I'm doing sometimes still today. But the reality is if I want to go forward, I need to do it off of intuition, not logic. And eventually what would happen is things will come up and the intellect will be the historian and I'll learn about that process as time goes on. We can't expect to move into a new space and know all the answers straight away. We need to move into something that feels off our intuition, off our heart, that feels right to us. And then eventually down the line, what will happen is we'll gain the intellect and logic upon it, and then we'll understand it from an intellectual standpoint. Then we'll know what we're doing, and then we'll be smarter, and then we'll be able to move into the next phase. It's the whole entire phase of creation anyway. Create, maintain, destroy. You generally have to destroy something, move into a new phase, and then you're going to be new at that new phase anyway. So I love that. Just do it. The path to success is to take massive, determined action. Everyone knows Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins, right? I'd hope so. If you don't, check him out. Action expresses priorities. Mahatma Gandhi, everyone knows Gandhi. You don't have to be great to start, but you had to start to be great. Zig Ziglar. And that's the reality, is like, if you're not going to start, how are you going to be great at it? So how can we turn action into consistent habit? So action steps, planning. Planning is massive. If you look at it like Josh said before, something as simple as dropping out 3 hours of your week from watching TV could add into literally something as large as becoming a millionaire and having $2 million of property. It's really that small. Also, what we need to do though, is if you're to drop 3 hours out of watching Netflix or TV, then you spend 3 hours on your phone on social media, that's not going to be effective. So what we need to do is have like a not to-do list, something that is taken away from our goals and things that are taken away from us succeeding, but then put in action steps that are going to help us succeed within those areas that we want to succeed in. So we're going to break down your larger goals. So what you want to do is break down your larger goals into weekly action steps, just like Josh did with the 3 hours. Nothing's changed there. Having smaller action steps make it less daunting and more achievable as well. Put time aside every weekday for your top priorities. Learn to time block. So I'll dive into that. So, example of top priorities. So these are things that I genuinely believe are extremely important to your success, regardless of what you want to achieve in your life. I genuinely believe these are things that you have to have. First one, exercise and meal prep. I write meal prep because it's the time you need to put into your week. But you need to eat well. You need to exercise. Like the biggest thing I like that I heard, I think it was even Aubrey Marcus that said it, but this is your home. Like, this is your home. This is the one thing that we know is with us for the rest of our life, from day dot to the very end. But yet we neglect it. Everything that is within our life is determined by our success within our home as well, right? Even in the gut, like, a lot of our neurotransmitters come from our gut. Like, that's massive. We generally are what we eat. The amount of times I look at someone eating, like, and it's okay to do this sometimes, but McDonald's, and I'm like, man, like, has anyone even just looked at the food that you're eating and realizing that your life force, your energy, everything to do with you as a human being is determined off the food you eat? We literally eat that food, and that energy creates our cells and create our body. It's so ridiculous that we then neglect ourselves, and every aspect of our life is anchored or either beneficial from our health. So look after your health, look after your well-being. Everything's determined off it. If your energy is shit and you're eating poorly, that's going to affect your life. It's going to affect your ability to have a relationship. The amount of times that people eat bad, I know this happens to all of us, I've done it. I'll go out and have a big feast or eat something bad, and then I'm in the grumpy mood because I'm bloated and tired and what have you, and then you have your partner at home, you're just like, oh, fuck off, I just want to lay in bed, I'm grumpy. Like, little things like that, but the reality is everyone's like that all the time. We're mostly reactive because our neurotransmitters, we're having low neurotransmitters because we're not eating well. But on top of that, we're also bloated and tired and lacking energy because we're eating poorly. We need to look at this first. Your health is number one. Studying personal growth, like Josh said, people have done it before. You know, everyone is unique in their own way and their own like characteristics and their own values. We have different values, we're not all the same. But the reality is life has been lived. Life has been lived for thousands of years, depending on how long you think life is. But we've been living for a long time, and all the answers are there. They genuinely are. And the fast way to do that and to fast track your knowledge is start reading books. To start reading books. The other beneficial thing to it is like you learn different like perceptions of life. Like I feel like we get so caught up in our own tunnel vision of life. Like we're just stuck in our own thoughts, and then we think off of our trauma or emotions that we've had within our life. Like you've had a bad relationship before, and then you start to judge the opposite sex for that relationship. You start to judge certain people for certain situations. The problem with that is we're so tunnel vision our own emotions and we become reactive. We think that is the reality of life. When we start to read books, we also have a different perception and view and perspective of life itself. So not only are you gaining knowledge and wisdom from people that have written these books, but you're also gaining a different view of life. It steps you away from your own, whether it's overly optimistic, overly negative, or it could be neutral, either or. But it just shifts your perception of life, and I think that's massive. Fun and time with friends, family, and partner. I don't know if anyone, just everyone, put your hand up if you know the book, The One Thing. The book, The One Thing. So it's funny enough, like the whole entire book is talking about finding like your one thing that either fixes all your problems or make everything else easier, right? So what you're trying to do is find out your top priority. Even Josh talked about earlier, trying to find something even is a massive domino. And the very first thing they say to plan within the one thing is fun. That's literally the very first thing. This whole entire book is on how to succeed, and it's all about business and career, what have you. The very first thing they plan is their fun. And for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it fulfills you, makes you happy. But then also you have something as a reward, something tangible to chase. You know I have all my holidays planned for this year, and now I can stand here and be fully present with you guys and just work hard until those fun come up. I don't need to really think about the fun because the fun's happening. I don't stand here thinking like, oh, I have to write this seminar for hours. I have to put hours of time in writing the seminar, trying to get people to come down, then deliver it. I don't think that way because I also know I have my fun coming. So I think that's extremely important. Alone time is extremely important. We need to self-reflect, meditate, relax. And if you want to spend time with your partner, your friends, or what have you, that's great. But the reality is when you're spending time with them, genuinely we're in a part of like giving. We're trying to give to our partner all the time, and that's great. But what we need to do is give time to ourselves. We need time to like not have any noise, not have any distractions, nothing that really puts us away from being able to look deeper. We need time to literally be alone. So even if you are like in a marriage or a relationship or what have you, find time to yourself. Find time to yourself to meditate and self-reflect and journal and what have you. Planning time. So the third thing, so in the one thing, plan your fun, plan your one thing. So the biggest thing, the biggest domino that's going to affect your life. And then plan your planning. Put time in a plan. I'll discuss that in a sec. Planning is like, everyone that knows me, planning and journaling is like my favorite thing to do in the whole entire world. A quick reason why is because I believe like you just get to write your fucking life. How cool is that? We watch movies and we watch TV shows. We're like, yeah, fucking cool story. Why can't you write your own story and do the exact same thing within your own life? So I step away from movies and TV shows. Sometimes I watch them as inspiration because I find them fun. I love watching like Marvel movies and seeing the philosophy behind it. But I like to spend most of my time actually, if I want to relax, the most relaxing thing I've ever do in my life is sit there and write my own life and just enjoy it. Like your character, you are your own hero of your own story, your own journey, the hero's journey. So you get to rewrite your own life and you get to write it in the way that you want to move it and then you get to live it. You know, if you ask yourself, what is stopping me? Is there no capability at all of me being able to achieve what I want to achieve? I could guarantee you that you're not going to find something tangible that's going to stop you from achieving your goals. We have limiting beliefs and make excuses along the way. But if you really look deep enough, there is no tangible reason for you guys, every single one of you, to not be able to achieve your goals and your dreams. Unless you want to fly. But then again, I don't know, that might be possible one day. Business, career growth. So same thing, one thing. Plan your fun. Plan your business, your career. That's if you're business career driven. It depends on what your values are in life. And your one thing, which generally is in the business career. So, calendar. Everyone, put your hand up if you use a calendar. Awesome. Put your hand up if it's a calendar on your phone. Put your hand up if it's a calendar written, like in a diary. Okay, cool. I do both, and I would recommend, I write it out on paper, and then I put it into my calendar on my phone. The reason why I like having it on my phone is you can just pull it up. It's like, it's there all the time. It's literally always in your pocket. It's super easy. And the other thing is very nicely, it's a nice visual. So, set up your calendar a week in advance. So, like I said before, Josh has gone over how to set up your big goals. What you want to do on a weekly basis is plan out your goals on the weekly basis. For a couple of reasons I do this. A massive reason why I find so much discipline in this, because I've written out my calendar. Okay, so yeah, if you don't follow your own plan, then does that mean you don't trust yourself? Where is the self-respect for yourself and your goals and your dreams? Follow your own plan, journey out of love and respect for yourself and your desires. I tell myself this all the time. The reason why is because a week isn't long. A week is 7 days, right? But the amount of times you'll be having a day and then your friends are like, hey, do you want to catch up for a beer or a drink? But it coincides with your desires and your dreams and what have you. And you sit and you're like, oh, actually, you know what, I would like a beer, I would like a drink, I need to relax, I've been working hard. But 2 days ago, you literally wrote out this whole entire plan because you have this vision for yourself and you have this desire for yourself. And then 2 days later, your motivation is towards wanting to have fun, your discipline drops. And so I do this on a weekly basis because I like to be spontaneous, I like to just have fun. But the reality is that was what I did for a lot of my life and it never got me anywhere. I needed to find a way for me to be able to be spontaneous and put things in my life while also being able to be disciplined and achieve what I want to do. If I want to succeed in business, I needed to be able to be disciplined. But I also need the freedom to be able to, if something comes up on a weekly basis, to be able to throw that in as well. Which is why I think weekly planning is a must. You have to do it because, like I said, I'll plan out my week in advance. If something comes up in that week that coincides with that, it's too late notice. Way too late notice. Unless it's something extremely important. But then again, if it's something extremely important, then why is it coming up so late? Nothing generally comes up within a weekly basis. If something comes up, it's just your friends want to go to Grilled or something, my mates. They just want to go to Grilled to catch up one random night. Is that way more important than my desire and my dream to be a life coach to change the world? It's not. But in that moment, I might be motivated to go to Grilled because my friends are trying to convince me and what have you. But if I set up my plan on a weekly basis, I've done it on a Monday, so I do it on a Monday to the next Monday. If anything comes up in that week, I tell myself, I love myself. This is my desire. This is my dream. I wrote this out for me in a place of love for myself. I sit there and before I do this, I actually journal. I'll show you guys that in a sec. So I actually journal, write out my one-day goals, write out my dreams, plan everything out, and then I do my weekly plan. The reason why is because now I have gratitude. I have love for myself, I have desire, I know what I want to achieve, and then I write out actionable steps within my week to achieve that. And so if anything tries to coincide with that, I'm like, no, that's me lying to myself. The amount of times that we've all done it, we go out and we're like, oh man, I'm now behind on my goals, I'm now behind on my work. And so I highly recommend doing this. I'll show you how to do it in a sec. Tips to successfully plan every week. So this is what I said. So first thing I do, and I recommend doing this, guys, start planning for a whole entire week. And if anything interrupts in that week, if the boys are like, or all you girls, whatever, they're like, hey, let's go out, let's go have a drink. Like, nah, I'm busy this week, let's plan it next week. There's nothing stopping you from being able to plan it next week. That's what I do. If my friends go and they're in a week and they're like Joel, I don't know if Joel knows this, but I think you do. Next Friday night for your birthday? Hey? Friday, yeah, because you have something Saturday now with your mum. Yeah. So anyway, I live with Joel and Nikki's his partner. Anyway, Nikki last night was like, hey, are you free next Friday night? It's in a week advance. I look at my calendar, move some of the things around. I can make that work because I haven't planned next week. But if, it would have been probably different with Joel and Nikki, but they would never do that anyway to me because they know, like, no, Joel and Nikki aren't going to come to me on a Thursday and be like, hey, you're free tomorrow night. Because I'll probably say no. Most likely say no. And they know why. And so you could do this and plan on a weekly basis. If something comes up in that week, say no. No is your favorite word. I don't know why people have this bad connotation around saying no. No is my favorite word. I'll say no all the time. If you want my help right now, no. We'll book it in. Because I value my time, you should value my time as I value yours as well. And your friends should value your time as much as you value your own because you value their time as well. So if anything comes up in the week, say no. Plan it a week in advance or the next week. Doesn't hurt. Visualize your one-day goal. So the very first thing I do when I start planning, visualize the one-day goal. Get connected with your purpose and your ultimate desire. You need to know this because a lot of people are good at goal setting, but they goal set off of values and goals that aren't even theirs. They don't even know what they want. You know, they look at something on Instagram and be like, oh, I like that. I want to do that. And then they're doing it and they're like, oh, actually, it doesn't make me happy. The amount of people that live their life with other people's goals or values because of their limited beliefs or what have you, and they're unhappy. What you need to do first is get connected with yourself. Know what your true desires are, what makes you happy on a deeper level. And then, from that, you can self-reflect on your previous week's wins and learns. I absolutely love this. Get a feel for what you were happy and unhappy with last week. So I always ask myself, what did you learn from the previous week and how can you improve on last week and make this week better? So I'll go over like the things that went well. I'll generally do 3 things that went well, 3 things I learned from those activities or those experiences, and then 3 things that I can work on and improve on from that week. So I do this every night. Can't remember what mine was yesterday. Something, I can't remember what I did. There was something, it was a big lesson yesterday. This is why you journal, because you forget. I'll read it later, I'll remind myself. So massive one, self-reflect. And then once you've done that, you can look at your notes from the previous week. So I use Trello for this, and I think Joel's now doing this as well, but the amount of times that we're meant to be present with someone, right? So like now, even then, I just made a mental note, I need to go look at my lessons from yesterday for today. But I can't do that now because I'm meant to be present for you guys, so I can't allow that to run through my mind. But a lot of times, we would try and remember something, it'll run in through our head all the time where we're sitting with someone or with a group of people trying to do something that we're not present because we're trying to hold on to that. Biggest advice, grab your phone out, I use Trello, and just write it down real quickly. Just super quickly, get it out of your head, it's on your phone. And so later on when you go home, you can reflect on that and go, oh, what actually did I learn from today? Oh, I need to do that. I need to go read my lessons from yesterday because I forgot what they were. So that's a massive tip. Because a lot of time I think we sit here, you guys are probably even doing it now. Some of you are probably reflecting on some areas of your life or some things that you've done or haven't done. And you spend that time thinking about that now. And that might take away from your ability to soak up what I'm telling you. So if you ever have those things that come up now and then, especially in a moment you need to be present and learn from, write down on your phone, put into your Trello or what have you, as Trello, and I actually have my day's thoughts, and I just write in real quickly. Quickly, look at my lessons from yesterday. Massive tip, it frees up so much of your mind. You don't lose anything because your thoughts are on paper. Super quick to do, you get super effective at it, and you're always present because you're not thinking about future or past tense stuff. I think that's like one of the biggest hacks I've ever done. Yep, perfect. Look at your top priorities. So then what you do is you look at your top priorities of values. So I have them already written out, but you've already done your 1 day goal. You break them down like Josh said, so this is why it coincides with what Josh did. You know your 5-year goals, 3-year goals, 1-year goals, and you know your top priorities to achieve that. And then you plan your week out on your calendar based off of your top priorities and values first. Put them in first. Don't write, I'm going to go catch up with the boys for grilled. You know, like write out what are your top goals, what brings you happiness in a deeper sense. If socializing, and this is why it's really important to know what you value the most, because I can't tell you what you value the most, so I can't tell you how to plan your life. I can't tell you how to plan your week. Me personally, I don't put much time in to catch up with the friends. I get plenty of time with that anyway, for what fulfills me. Other people might need more of that, so I can't tell you what to do. But what I can tell you to do, recommend you to do, which I think is extremely important, is find out your top values. Find out, because there's 7 areas of life, so mine actually in order. You'll see why I don't. My in order is career number 1, health number 2. As I said earlier, health, this is your home, you need health. Growth, which is mindset and personal development. Then it is fun. Then it is partner. Yeah, then it's partner. Then it's family, and then it's finance. So partner, family, and finance at the very bottom. That's why I don't have a partner or any friends or no family. No, I'm kidding. No, so they're low on the thing. Doesn't mean I don't value them. Finance, for instance, is my lowest value. Do not value finance at all. But I need money. I need money to be able to live my dream, to be able to make an impact. So I'm going to work my ass off to be able to sell, to get good at marketing, to be able to make money, to charge money for seminars, because I know that my purpose is to impact the world, and I need to make an industry. I need to make businesses, and I need to get my name out there. And for me to do that, I need resources, I need money, and I need to be seen as an authority. If I stand here and do free seminars all the time, not create value for myself, value for what I deliver, and don't create myself as an authority, then I'm not going to be able to impact the world, because I'll just be a standard guy that lives in fucking Midland the rest of my life, and I'm here all the time. Nothing wrong with that, but my value is higher than that. And so it's important. So look at the top values and set your life around that. So that's literally what you do. So you visualize your 1 day goal, self-reflect to the previous week, look at what went well, what didn't go so well, look at your notes for the previous week. So stuff like, you know, let's say if you had a note on, I want to read this book, I want to, like Joel and Josh send me really cool articles and stuff sometimes, like read that article real quickly, I'll put in time for that, small stuff like that. Look at your top priorities and values, and then plan your week around that. Simple as that. Do that every single week and stay so true to it. Don't fall off of it, because you will regret it. The amount of times that we fall off of our plan and then we regret it because we didn't actually do what we set ourselves out to do. And the amount of times we go, oh man, I told myself I'm going to do that, but I didn't do it because I fell for the trap of grilled. You can tell how much times I got to grilled. Journal and self-reflect. So back to the journal. I journal every single day. I actually journal at the end of my day. Reason why, and I journal in between the time of work and in between the time of fun. The reason why I do that is because now I could sign off on my day, and then I could sign on to my relaxation. And then so I've signed off of business. I'm not thinking about business anymore. I've planned, and so what I'll also do when I journal, I'll also plan and prepare for the next day, which I think I go into in a sec, morning rituals. And so I even then plan and prepare for the next day. I pack my bag, I pack all my clothes, everything is ready for the next day. And so that means, even though I only have like an hour and a half, an hour to relax at the end of the day, I don't give myself a whole lot of time, that time is so high quality. Like it's so purely just me, not even thinking about anything but, well, anything really, just relaxing. Like I don't really think about anything, which is awesome. I think that's a massive thing that I'm able to do. Through meditation as well, I meditate a lot. I'm very good at just being able to switch off. But I can switch on really quickly as well. So I highly recommend journaling at the end of the day. Sign off in your day. Put your hand up if you struggle laying in bed to then fall asleep. You put thoughts are running through your head. Geez, you guys are good. Put your hand up if you sleep 8 hours a night every single night. All right, yeah, so you guys don't sleep. I don't think about nothing. You guys did how many 7 hours of sleep a night? Not bad. 6 hours? Less than 6 hours. Yeah. Okay. Not judging you guys. I spent a lot of time like Josh, myself, Joel, and what have you. Spent a lot of time like getting lack of sleep in the pursuit of hustle and success and what have you. Along the line, we realized that we became less effective. We weren't really effective with our time throughout the day. Then we end up like just absolutely ruining ourselves. Man, in so many ways, emotionally, health, mindset, just everything dropped in every way. And it's because we were stuck in the mindset like we were only meant to sleep 4 or 5 hours a night and then hustle throughout the day. The reality is that didn't work. And then we found out what we needed to do was become more effective and productive within our day. Sleep 8 hours a night, 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours a night. And then we're wired, we're focused, we're energetic, we're alert, we're way more focused, and we're way more effective within our day. So if any of you guys are thinking that you need to get less sleep to get more done, see within your day where you could piece together more effective steps and look after your health. They're finding sleep is like the precursor of everything. Like sleep is so important. So highly recommend that. So when I journal and self-reflect, I highly recommend like taking a photo of this if you guys want to keep it or what have you. So some people are doing it, but random thoughts of the day. A lot of people ask me when they start journaling, like, what do I start writing on? How do I start getting into writing? The best tip I recommend first when you start journaling is to start scribbling thoughts throughout your day. I actually go from the start of my day to the end of the day. I was like, okay, I woke up. I did this. I thought about this. I thought about that. I then did this. I then did that. I thought about this. I thought about that. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. Then what you start to do is you start to get into the thought process and into the creative process of writing. You get deeper and what have you. Once you do that, then you can write your one-day dream, your one-day goal. I always go back to that. Remind yourself of what you really want to achieve. And always double check that that is your dream and your goal, because we do change. There will be moments in your life that experiences and certain things shift your beliefs and shift your values. So it's important to always recap on that. Your top 3 gratitudes, get into a grateful state, extremely important. I always, whenever I do this, write gratitude for myself. I find all the things that I am grateful for within myself, all my strengths as well. So if you're going to do gratitude as well, write some gratitude for yourself. I think that's really important. It's like the one thing I always do. Sometimes I write 4 gratitudes because I always write me and I'm like, oh, I kind of want 3 more other random gratitudes. But write out yourself and your strengths and what you're grateful for within yourself. I think that's really important. Other things could just be family, friends, your day, the weather. What went well last week? 3 things that went well. Easy. What did you do well? 3 things that you did well. So the difference between these 3 things that went well, things that are external, you might have received something from someone or had a good conversation with someone, what have you. 3 things you did well could be, stayed more disciplined, got my 8 hours of sleep a night, ate well, exercise. What can you improve on? So 3 things you could improve on for the previous week, and so you're always learning, so next week's always better than the last. What can you do this week to improve on last week? Oh yeah, and then once you've done that, what can you improve on? So you're looking and reflecting on what you did last week, and 3 things that you can do better on. And then you're creating action steps for the next week for 3 things that you could do better to make that week better. Extremely important. And then what is your stretch this week? 3 things that are going to really stretch you. 3 things that might have like an emotional reaction or something that might challenge you, something that you're scared to do. Or something that is really important but you haven't done it yet because you keep putting it off. 3 stretches. Make sure all improvements and stretches are specific to your one-day dream and goal. So everything is always rehashing back to your one-day goal. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. Journaling is extremely important. Put your hand up if you journal. Nice. Awesome. Put your hand up if you've tried journaling before. I think a lot of people have tried journaling, but there's a lot of things that kind of block people. Your night and morning ritual. Perfect, I wrote that, I was going to say that. Yeah. Your day starts the night before. Big believer in this. Back to sleep. Sleep is extremely important, but to improve upon your sleep and improve on your relaxation, start your night ritual and plan your day in advance. Prep your bag, plan your day, do your journaling, do everything, and then the next day you're ready. You wake up, your clothes are there, your bag is ready, you might have a quick cold shower, grab yourself, put your clothes on, you're off. You don't have to wake up and be like, oh, what am I doing today? You don't have to think about any of that. It's already planned the night before. So, night ritual, debrief your day, which is a journal, plan and prepare for the next day, and then unplug. Meditate even, remove the light, get comfy. Just relax, do nothing, have a good solid sleep. Morning ritual, no snooze button. This is a massive thing that I learned. To get rid of your snooze button. You can actually get rid of it in the options on your clock. Get rid of the snooze button. No more snoozing for multiple reasons. Firstly, you want to get into a ritual of like actually getting your circadian rhythm and your sleep cycle right first. The other reason is because we move into sleep cycles, right? So if we move into a sleep cycle and you put your snooze button on for 10 minutes, you're moving into the lightest, shittiest sort of form of sleep. and then your like body's slowly moving into a sleep state because it's 90-minute sleep cycles. You're slowly moving into a sleep cycle. It's like, psych, wake up now. And so the amount of times, like, who's done that? Like, if you've woken up just randomly throughout the night, right, or like it may be a half an hour until your alarm goes off, be like, oh, I got another half an hour. And then so you sleep until that half an hour, and then you're way more groggy that after half an hour. Put your hand up if you've done that. That is why. And when I figured that out, I was like, oh, damn it, that's why. It's because you're moving into a new sleep cycle. So if you woke up half an hour before your actual alarm, you're meant to wake up at that time because that's the end of a sleep cycle. You moving into another sleep cycle is going to fuck you more than if you woke up half an hour earlier. But this is also why it's important to look at doing 7 to 8 hours of sleep because of the sleep cycle. If we're looking at the 90-minute sleep cycles, we need to start to figure out, we're meant to have, at least 4 sleep cycles, but I normally recommend 8 hours because you also have time to try and fall asleep and what have you. But so look at your sleep. When you wake up, no snooze button, cold shower or cold water. What I mean by that is if you don't want to jump into the shower, it's too much for you, I highly recommend trying to do it. Chuck some cold water in your face will just wake you up. Drink at least a glass of water, hydrate yourself. You're just asleep for so long without any hydration. You can even add like lemon and salt, like Himalayan salt and what have you, to add some electrolytes and stuff into it. You can meditate in the morning as well, so meditate and look over your day. So I generally do these together. I do more like an active meditation where I actually look over my day. So I'll look over my calendar for the day and I'll be like, okay, well, that's what I need to do. And then I'll create, or I'll do a meditation around that day, creating the intent. And I'll visualize my day. So I did that this morning, wake up, look at my calendar, and then I'll literally just visualize step by step my whole entire day. And now I know every step. I've created intent behind it, and now there's a powerful intent behind it. Your day will be absolutely amazing. Nothing will kind of throw you off. Another thing you can do, habit share. So if everyone doesn't have habit share, I highly recommend getting it. You can also add people onto it, threads, so you can follow each other. It's just kind of like you add in your habits and you keep yourself accountable, your friends accountable, what have you. The whole entire team do it every single Monday morning. We go over our wins, learns, and stretch, and what we feel like expressing from the previous week. So we share our struggles, we share our wins, our learns, our stretches, what have you. We also share our habits. And if we're not staying accountable to it, then we give each other shit and whip each other. And no, I'm kidding. And then we discuss them and try and figure out like where we could improve on why we weren't going so well. But I highly recommend setting up like a handful of habits within your week that are going to help you move towards your top goal, and use habit share. And if you check it every single day, the best thing about this, if 5 days in a row you haven't done, like my brotherhood screen time, that's like a group that we have. We didn't use the screen time. If we haven't done that, then we're like, okay, well, it's 3 days in a row, we need to get our shit together. And so it's just, it's visualizing, seeing where you're going wrong. So a lot of time we'll miss so many things, but we're not consciously aware of it. We're not aware of the fact that we're consistently missing out on something within our life. That's why it's important to track everything. I'm massive into tracking. Number one thing, we had it in our last seminar, Mason asked us, how do you stay accountable? Get an accountability group or get a friend. Find someone. So we lie to ourselves all the time, even if we know it or not. We get strong support groups, so we need to get a strong support group that challenges us. True support is people who challenge you to act upon your goals. I'm a big believer in this. Love itself is challenging and supportive. It's not loving when you're fucking up all the time and your best mate's like, yeah, you're all good, it's all fine, but then you're destroying your life because you keep making the same bad habit. If you have a friend that's overweight, but we're too scared to tell our friend that they need to get their shit together and lose weight, is that true love? Do we truly love and support our friend if we're allowing our friend to make these bad habits, to be overweight and make these mistakes? We're not. That's not true love. True love to me is being able to support and challenge someone who we love and care about to be better. Not in our own eyes, but to be better in their own eyes. Because we generally know, our friends will tell us that they're upset about their weight, or they're upset about this, or upset about that. But then we're too scared to challenge them upon that. So what you need to do is find a group, circle, or a friend, or what have you, that you could go to. Share all of your, know your goals. You can share with them all your goals. Share your goals and challenges with them. So your challenges, share what you're challenged with. So if you want to lose weight, but your biggest challenge is you're always snacking on this at this time, tell your friends that, ask them to support you and challenge you. And use that accountability system. I was massive into just being alone, a lone wolf. I thought people slowed me down. People didn't know me. People didn't know my goals. People wouldn't be able to help me. It wasn't until I got a team and worked with a team that things really improved. And it's because they keep me accountable. And I'm also inspired by their ability to work and show up to do better myself. You want to have a group of people or a friend that challenges you and supports you and wants you to be better. So find someone that could do that. Share your goals, share your challenges. Book in regular check-ins, mandatory. This is what the Brotherhood screen time was. We fucked it. But, so you want to find regular check-ins. Be like, every single week on this day, we're going to have a chat for like half an hour on the phone, or you catch up and have tea or coffee, and you chat about your goals, and you chat about your challenges, and chat about how well you did, and where you went wrong. And then if they're a good supporting friend who loves you, they'll tell you to get your shit together if you don't have your shit together. But we need to have that support system in our life, and we need to have it truthfully and brutally honest from a place of love, no, not from a place like you're a dropkick, get your shit together. It's from a place of like, no, I know you really want to lose 5 kilos. I know you're challenging with this. I want this for you because I care about you. Let's go back over the reason why you want to achieve this. Let's go back over the reason why you want to lose 5 kilos. You want to do it for your children. You want to do it because you want to be a role model. You want that in your life. You need someone to pull up the deep emotional reasons. You need someone to know and then allow them to pull it up to call you out on that stuff. And then return the favor and hold them accountable as well. But if you're not doing this, you don't have that in your life, that's a massive thing you're missing. So recapping over real quickly and creating action steps. Like I said, I always end everything on the action steps. So I'm going to create action steps for you guys today. I challenge you to do this. Your action steps are to firstly look at your top priorities. Look at whether you're exercising and looking after your health. Look at whether you're growing your mind and look at whether you're having fun in your life and having alone time. Look at that first. If you're not, I recommend trying to add that into your life. Then get a calendar system. You guys get a calendar system. Start planning out your days. Start journaling, so start planning out your life as well. So look at your one-day goal. Start to put in time to self-reflect. Start putting in time to look at your notes for the previous week, and also start making notes on your thoughts. So action steps on that. Journal and self-reflect. Journal every single night. You might take a little bit, like half an hour to an hour at first. I take 15 minutes now. You get really good at it. Journal every single day. And then get a night and morning ritual. Do that. And get habit share. Get 5 habits that you need to do. Exercise. Use MyFitnessPal today. Call a friend. Spend 3 hours with my business. And journal. 5 habits, simple. Find an accountability person or accountability group. Start on those actions and step. Watch your life change. The only way to see the rewards or to believe in it is to do it. A lot of time we sit there and we have all these doubts, but the reality is you're not going to know until you try it. I'm massively just trying things. There'll be some things I think that's fucking weird, but who am I outside of it who hasn't experienced it to say it's weird without having experienced it? So if you're sitting there and thinking like, oh, I can't find time for this, can't find time for that, I don't think that's going to work, I don't think it's going to help my situation because that's not me, Navarre's different to me, start to just implement it and see whether it works. If it doesn't work for you, then so be it. But you don't know until you try. So I highly recommend it. And that was me. We're all done. Thank you, guys. All right.